So last Friday, Man of Medan was released, which is the first slice in the anthology from Supermassive Games' brand new series. It was poised to be something great, and if you've played Until Dawn and Heavy Rain, you'll be familiar with the thriller/horror-based style of choice-making video game. That is not really a great explanation, but I think you know what I mean. I completed it on stream last week and it cost me $24.99 to purchase this before I streamed it. My question is, did I get ripped off? Should I have got a refund? Did I enjoy the experience? And should you be spending your money on Man of Medan? Now, you guys know that I'm a horror girl through and through. I love my jump scares. I love dark black corridors full of cobwebs, scary creaks in the floorboards, ringing telephones with absolutely nobody at the end. I mean, it really is like, think of the worst possible kind of horror game and I am there. Resident Evil 7 for me was one of the best horror games of this generation, hands down. So I was pretty excited for Man of Medan, and having completed Until Dawn twice and really enjoyed it, I thought I'd give this a go. So last week it took me 3.5 hours to complete, okay? Now I'll say this game was very slow to start. And what I mean by that is there weren't many jump scares, the dialogue was very slow, and I also found that the amount of choices you were given to be able to answer, because obviously it's a choice-based game, were also very limited. There were 2, if not 3 choices. I would have thought that there would have been like way more. I thought that would have added way more immersion and arguably more replay value as well, because if there are more choices to pick during conversation, then that's going to affect more decisions down the line, possibly more endings, thus more replay value. But it was kind of like very limited in the conversation you had very early on in the game. I understood why that happened. You need to be introduced to characters in a game like this, which is very story driven, which the story of course is carried by the characters. So you needed to kind of have that really steady immersion and kind of pacing to have the kind of characters introduced. But when I think back to Until Dawn, the pace seemed a lot quicker. The game got off to a much quicker start with more jump scares, with more kind of just charisma, I think, than what this did. And I'll kind of say straight off the bat, I'm not a huge fan of ships in general. Like if somebody said to me, hey, do you want to come to this museum? It's full of nautical themed paraphernalia. It's not something that I'd be overly excited to go on. And when I played Resident Evil 7, when you get to the end game and you're on the ship and you're kind of going down the stairs level by level, it was the least thrilling part of Resident Evil 7 for me. So when this was kind of building up, I wasn't overly pleased with the setting anyway. I much prefer the stereotypical asylum or creepy town like in Silent Hill. I absolutely love the kind of dilapidated building feel, rather than a kind of like post-World War II lost at sea ghost ship. Don't get me wrong, I'm a Goonies fan, but for me, this wasn't the best setting. Now that doesn't mean that it's not going to be the best setting for you. This could be the perfect horror game for you. But I'll say this game is very short, and despite its replay value, I'm kind of like cringing at the fact that it cost me £24.99, that is. I think it would have been better as a $19.99 start. And I totally respect what Supermassive Games are doing, and I'm really excited for the second instalment, because when you complete this, you do get a glimpse into what's coming next, and it will be released within the next 6 months, I'm led to believe. I think there are 6 chapters in total, so I think we've got a lot coming. But if you think about it, if each episode costs £24.99, that's going to be £150 for 6 instalments of, and I'm thinking okay, so £150, you know, would I have preferred like one big massive game and then just kind of chunked it down into smaller DLCs? I probably would have preferred that, because I would have liked to have experienced Man of Medan for that little bit longer. Another thing I'll say about replay value with a game like this, once you know where the jump scares are, you know where the jump scares are. So if I was to stream this again, it's not going to have as much of a shock factor. Even if I choose a different kind of path and maybe choose to kill some characters earlier, I don't think it's going to have much appeal to me. So I think we use this term replay value. I think it should be kind of used with caution, because I think replay value is wrong. I think, yeah, there's replayability, but I don't necessarily think that's going to be a valuable experience, because what I want when I play a horror game is jump scares, immersion, jump scares, immersion, jump scares and immersion. The immersion's not going to be there for me, and the jump scares definitely aren't going to be there for me. What did I like about this game? I think, and I was playing it on a base PS4, I am fully aware that if I played on my Pro, which is right behind this camera, I'm going to get visually a much more rewarding experience. But my base PS4, my vanilla PS4, is hooked up to the streaming deck. So it still looked good. And I think that a game like this, if it looks good on a vanilla base PlayStation 4, if it still looks good, then that to me is a massive thumbs up. The motion capture looks really good. I thought that the scripts and the actual kind of dialogue itself was really, really good. And one of my bugbears with video games are when voices don't match people's faces, like in Watch Dogs Legion demo, for example. The voices matched people's faces. That might sound like a very minor detail, but to me, it is incredibly important. There's nothing worse than kind of watching a character on screen, you know, reel off this really important spiel, and you think, that doesn't, what? You know, how do you feel about that? Is that something you pick up on, or are you just like not interested? I'm just going to kind of give you this from all angles here, because I want you guys to really consider this if you're going to be putting $24.99 into Man of Medan. I thought the characters as individuals were very interesting. They all differed in kind of appeal. You know, there's this one particular character, and I'm not going to spoil it, but one particular character, Conrad, and at first I didn't like him, but the way he kind of interacted with other characters, enemies and allies, I actually started to like him in the end. And I like the fact that as a player, you can kind of like drift in and out of kind of like love, so to speak, with characters. I think that shows great writing. I think that shows fantastic execution. You know, that's as kind of much as I've got to say. I think again it's kind of minor detail, but with a game like this, it is about the fine detail. So I think that's important to consider. Like I said, I think this should have been a $19.99 game. I don't know. I'm kind of guessing here if the next installments are going to be $24.99. If they are, it is going to be a bit of a shame, but because it's going to be a pricey anthology. At the end of it, it's going to be a pricey anthology. Now, if they are $24.99, I would like more than 3.5 hours gameplay. I could go back through this, I could try and platinum it, but again, I'm not a massive trophy hunter. If you are, then that's fantastic, but I'm not. I want my jump scares, and you know, I've already worn the shoe now, I've worn it out in my opinion. So, but I'm going to keep it for the collection, you know, don't get me wrong, I will keep it for the collection. In terms of how many characters I killed, my stream wanted me to kill characters, so I did. I thought, you know, we're going to do this for the entertainment, and right at the end, I had one death on purpose and one accidental death. So I actually killed 2 out of the 5 characters. I thought this would have been a little bit better with more characters as well. Until Dawn was a lot more fleshed out, had more characters, more versatility, there were more relationships going on, there were more complexities, and on the whole, it was a much better game story-wise. In my opinion, I preferred the setting. Like I said, more characters I think would have worked really well in this. Now, there are some enemies that you meet in this. It's not all paranormal stuff. There are some human AIs in this that you need to evade and you need to be very, very careful of. I thought that was well executed. It kind of came at the right time. The enemies, you know, they looked the part. You know, they sounded the part. You know, I think like I was surprised that one of the enemies actually lasted as long as they did. But nonetheless, I guess that was, you know, became an integral part of the gameplay. But it seemed to kind of lend itself more towards running from the human AIs rather than focusing on the kind of ghostly goings on. And I would have preferred, again, to focus on the ghostly going on rather than running from human and like enemies. I think that, again, it just doesn't seem as scary when you're running away from 3 humans compared to this kind of creepy apparition of a female sailor, or whatever she turns out to be. I think the kind of horror would have been more scary. So I'm intrigued, you know. I really liked the taster of the kind of trailer for episode 2 in the anthology. At the end of this, we got a little tease. It's coming 2020, I don't know when, but I have read, like I said, that within 6 months of every release, there's going to be the next episode. So I think we've got a lot to come. And I think Supermassive Games as a whole are a great studio. I just wish this was just a little bit more fleshed out with more characters, more versatility, etc. So I hope you found some use in this mini review of Man of Medan. I've also written a blog over my website, Juicy Game Reviews. It will be linked in the description. I think I'm going to link the stream there as well. It's unlisted on my YouTube channel, but I'll put the entire stream within that review so you guys can actually go and check it out. If you don't want to buy it, you can watch a full playthrough. Thank you very much for watching. I will be back in Friday's video with more gaming content, but for now, have a great day. My name is Gemma. Take care. See you soon.